Good morning, everyone. Once again, it's 10:05. Welcome to the first ever NLCGA masterclass. It's on CNG, the opportunities in the CNG industry. I won't be speaking much. I have the chairman, safety and technical. As ES, we have just tried to put this together as an association so that whether you're members or not, you can see the value that NLCGA presents. The chairman, safety and technical, will talk more about this webinar and other values that both the committee and the association offers. So on behalf of the executive committee, the governing council of the NLCGA, may I introduce Mr. Femi Fanoike, who is chairman, safety and technical committee of the NLCGA and first vice president of the NLCGA, MD Longview Gas. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Larry. And good morning to the whole house. I'm very excited this morning to see the large turnout that we have for this education seminar. Just to give context, the Nigerian Liquefied Petroleum Gas Association only last year rebranded to become the Nigerian Liquefied and Compressed Gases Association. This obviously is in response to the industry and country dynamics and the shift by the federal government in the promotion of gas fuels, right? So if as an association we made that pivot, it's only expected that the greater population would make a similar pivot. And we see that in the interest that this webinar has generated. So it's very good to have you all. The NLCGA is the umbrella body that advocates for participants and stakeholders in the gas space. Historically, like I said, it was LPG, but now encompassing compressed gases such as CNG. I think as our role going further down as a safety and technical committee, our role within the association is always to promote education so that safe practices in the industry.
Sorry, Chair. May we appeal to everyone who is joining to please mute your microphone so that it does not disrupt the presentations, please. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. So, yes, our role is to promote education for the safe operability of players in the industry, and B, to introduce to the populace, members, new technologies that can help them drive their individual businesses. So it is in that theme that we're introducing CNG today, both for the benefit of our membership who would like to make a pivot in their business from LPG and be inclusive of CNG, and to the greater population who is interested in LPG. This seminar or webinar is actually open to both membership of the NLCGA as well as outsiders who are interested in the topic in general. I believe good education, not just education, but good factual education is important to keep the industry safe and to guide people along the correct path. And to that end, the NLCGA is having a close collaboration with Connect Gas and Energy, yes, who is our main collaborator on this education forum. Connect Energy is a key player within the federal government's effort to move towards natural gas in all its form in the country, and they have already done some of this education forum with the federal government as well. The CEO for Connect Energy is with us in the name of Mr. Tim Talabi, and we welcome Tim and his team, and thank you for this collaboration. And also, as a partner to Connect Energy is in the person of Mr. Clinton McGinnis, being the international technical partner for Connect Gas and Energy Group. Tim has vast experience, and he's going to be our key presenter today. He has vast experience in this topic as a gentleman who has over a decade's experience in the vehicle gas industry. Also, he will talk to us briefly about gas as a general engine fuel, not only in vehicles, but in stationary engines such as generators and diesel and things like that. So he will take us through, along with Tim and his team, about CNG as a product in general, and then we'll talk a little bit about some applications of CNG, and then Tim will also take us through how to approach breaking into the CNG market in Nigeria within the context of incentives or other available infrastructure and things that are already in ground, so people will be able to choose how they plug in. So without wasting much time, I will invite the team from Connect Gas Energy to take us through. Thank you very much, and welcome again to the NLCGA.
So thank you so much. Thank you, the Executive Secretary, and also thank you, the first Vice President of this great association, the Chairman of the technical CNG Technical Committee. So thank you so much for this opportunity. We are also members of this great association. So for us, it is coming back home. As they say, charity begins from home. So thanks to everyone, our co-members of this great association, and everyone that you've taken time out. I know we are all busy, but you've taken time out this morning to be part of this great webinar. I don't think I need to do much more than what the chairman of the technical committee has done in terms of introduction. We've been working with the presidential committee on CNG in the country, building awareness and education and driving that private participation in the country. So thank you so much, Chairman of Technical Committee. You've done so well in your introduction. I'll just introduce again as part of those that will be speaking today. The Chairman Technical Committee has already introduced Mr. Quentin. I also want to introduce Mr. Timothy Agbidi, who is our technical manager in country. Also, we have here with me today Ms. Obayinka Mohammed, our operations manager, and Joshua Adebayo, who will be sharing his screen for our presentation as our business development manager. Okay, so without wasting too much time, because I know there's question and answers, we want to make it as practical as possible. So I'll just now hand over to Mr. Quentin to take us through his presentation, and then I'll take over from there. Over to you, Quentin.
Thank you, Tim, and welcome to everyone. And yes, thanks for joining the first presentation. I hope I don't bore you too much in this, but let's see what I can do in making it a bit more interesting for you. So without any delay, let's start with the presentation. So the question always comes up, what is CNG? And it's a very nice gas because it is cleaner. It's methane gas. It's not a propane such as LPG. It's lighter than air. Unfortunate part of it is you have to compress it, but all the regulations are followed, and the information, the equipment that's used is in such a way that it makes it very, very safe. The gas is resourced from a coal bed methane or from a natural force or area, and then cleaned and then put through a compression station into what we then call, we can then transfer into vehicles and run the vehicles for. It's also the cleanest fuel that you can, from the fossil fuels that you can use in terms of exhaust emission. If we can move on to the next slide, please. So the difference between CNG and LPG. CNG is a compressed natural gas, which is mainly methane compressed at 200 bar to 250 bar. So let me explain to you why the two differences. 200 bar is a part of the regulation. You cannot put more than 200 bar pressure into a cylinder which is in a vehicle. But if you are transporting it for the industry and you need to take more volume, you can then put the tankers into the gas into a tanker that can handle the 248, 250 bar pressure. LPG is liquid petroleum gas. It's a mixture between propane and butane. You would also notice that in the LPG, there's also a different mix sometimes for cylinder to cylinder. And you would be able to smell it. You'll smell that sometimes the LPG smells a bit stronger than the next bottle. So it's all got to do with the mixture between the propane and butane. LPG is also heavier. If it leaks, it drops to the bottom. If it increases when you use natural gas and it leaks, it anticipates into the air. So in that case, natural gas in itself is a lot safer, especially if the gas can disappear into the air instead of going into a pocket and laying down on the floor. Generally, CNG is a lot cheaper than LPG. That's all depending on who's supplying the LPG, the CNG, and who's supplying the LPG. But generally, CNG is definitely a cheaper fuel. If we can move on to the next slide, please. The advantages of CNG. It reduces carbon footprint. In many cases, companies who is taking part in the actual cleaning of the air likes this gas because your exhaust emissions are a lot cleaner when it's used. They can also claim green points. So it eliminates about 20 to 25% less greenhouse gases. So I'm coming back to the cleanest fossil fuel that you can get is natural gas. It's a proven technology in the world where a lot of vehicles are running on natural gas, not just as a fitment off the market, but also where you can purchase a vehicle that just runs on natural gas and not running on two fuels like petrol and gas or diesel and gas. Like I said, it's very competitively priced. And then in general, your carbon deposits in your engine is less. So if you're running on natural gas, you would be able to save your engine and your services, prolong your service a little bit more. We don't recommend that. We recommend the manufacturer's service history, service schedules that they put out there. But in general, the oil stays a lot cleaner than what you would run on normal petrol or LPG. Filling time, when you fill, it's pretty much the same as petrol. So if you're filling a cylinder and you make it full and you fill a petrol tank, the time is more or less the same. The performance on a petrol vehicle is similar. Natural gas in its own form is not as strong as petrol, but it can handle itself under when we talk kilowatts and horsepower and so on. I don't want to bore you with all the technical information regarding that. It's non-toxic, so the exhaust, once again, it's a cleaner exhaust emission that you get. I explained to you on the lighter than air. It's if you smell gas, you'll smell it smells similar to LPG, but that's because they put an odor into the natural gas. Natural gas on its own hasn't got a smell, and you need to put some odor in it in order to get it to identify if it leaks. It's got a very narrow flammability, so where LPG will take just a small particle of LPG and a bit of air, and it will flame immediately. Your natural gas needs a lot more gas in order to, with the air mixed, in order to take flame. So in that sense, again, it's a safer fuel as such. In South Africa, there's a VAT portion that's lumped onto the actual gas, 15% VAT. This VAT can be claimed back because it's seen as an industrial gas, and once you start filling up and you claim the VAT back, you see the real difference between what you would pay for a petrol or a diesel versus the actual gas. It's got a very safe record, safer than I think LPG, but that is just my personal opinion. If we can move on. So in the beginning, in the 15 years of my experience, we started off just by converting anything that runs on petrol or LPG in order to run on the fuel. Later in the 15 years, we started realizing we can run it in a diesel application with our supplier. And we started doing conversions because the industry turned from a petrol vehicle to diesel over a period when diesel was a lot cheaper than petrol. And all the vehicles eventually, the guys were trading their petrol vehicles into diesel. So now we do diesel, what they call dual fuel. And now, if you allow me, just take you through what I mean by that. If you can go to the next slide. So what we do is we still use diesel, but we minimize the amount of diesel that's been injected into the engine, and we replace the energy value that we remove from the diesel back with natural gas into the actual engine combustion chamber. So therefore, the diesel engine stays exactly the same kilowatt horsepower, and it's very important for us to make sure that the mixture of energy is the same as what we remove out of the diesel, to ensure that there's no kickback on the gearboxes and the gearboxes hunting for gears. Just by using our system, we can use the can line or the accelerator pedal, and we would be able to cut the truck's ECU or the generator's ECU, and say to the ECU, listen, we only need so many milliseconds of injection of diesel, and we will take care of the natural gas that we'll put in order to bring the energy back to where it's supposed to be. If we can move to the next slide, please. Also, we went into the farming industry, the tractors and so forth. we realized that there's a need in the actual farming industry, and we had to come up with a way to put the cylinders onto a vehicle that works off-road in very rough conditions. If we can just move to the next slide. Here you will see that we actually fitted cylinders on front of the tractor instead of the weight that we'll put on a tractor normally comes with. And this thing is a quick coupler which feeds to the engine from the cylinder. So the farmer will farm with his tractor in dual fuel mode, and when he's done, he will drop the front pack and then pick up the new one that's been filled. So when it comes to a compressor, he'll use a small compressor. He doesn't need to use very expensive high compressors in order to run his project in his farm. Next slide, please. We then moved on to generators. If we talk generators, we talk 65 to 70% substitution. I think there's some more information on the slide. If you can just click again. Yeah, just go back, please. And we started introducing to all our generators. I'm not sure how many is aware that we've had a time of really bad experience of having power, the luxury of having power into the industry and our houses. So everyone was buying diesel generators because they were a lot cheaper than natural gas generators. However, they realized that a generator is not needs a lot of diesel, a lot of power in order to manufacture a few kilowatts. Energy to energy value, you really need to put in a lot of diesel. With this technology, we cut 65 to 75% of the diesel. We put it in natural gas, and this is in the industry where factories already got gas on site, so at low pressure 5 bar, and we can supplement that. The customer has got a big saving when it comes to running his generator if he requires it. Something I want to mention is that although it's cheaper, it's also cleaner. So they can claim the green points that they are doing everything in their power to help towards the greening of the industry or these sky. Next slide, please. We also moved into mining. The CAT 777 LNG. We had to prove the concept of does the engine run on natural gas dual fuel? And you can see the amount of liters that we do at 125 horsepower engine. We used CNG for a test before the LNG was introduced. You would find that Cummins has got an LNG CAT 777. Mine decided to go with us because we are a quarter of the price of what LNG CAT 777 would be. So in the next slide, I hope to demonstrate to you that the engine that we did was actually the engine of one of the trucks that we converted. And this was done on a dynamometer. The engine was put onto a dyno, and we fed dual fuel gas into the actual unit. So I see it doesn't want to play for some reason. Okay. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to there's a truck that we were busy with. It was a water tanker. Just talk you through this. As it paused now, or is there a bit of a delay? Sorry about that, guys. There was a glitch on the music that was playing there. Nevertheless, here you would see the control panels that we used. The one was for the engine and one was for our system. And the fuel consumption rate at that power output that the engine was giving was 107, 108 liters of diesel per hour. You saw the flash, the gas is now getting introduced into the engine and the diesel is being cut. And this is real time from the actual computer of the truck. So in that case, you can see how much fuel we could cut on a CAT 777 engine. It was a very nice project to do. Now we're just waiting for the LNG to hit our shores. Some previous projects, just to give you some info. We didn't just stop at vehicles. We did heisters. The Toyota plant in South Africa was converted to run all their vehicles on natural gas. In the engineer who was heading the project, in his words, it was said a non-brainer. He spent the money and he recovered the money in 2 months just by converting all the units to run on natural gas. Some fleet vehicles, security vehicles running 24 hours a day. A lot of vehicles that we still currently convert for the fleet vehicles. The nice part of it is we take the kit off when they sell the vehicle and we reinstall it into their new vehicle. And they see the benefit of it. Taxis, we do a number of taxis. You can see the cylinders are fitted underneath the seats. Very safe. If there's a leak, it will leak to the outside of the vehicle. Yeah, we can move to the next slide. Here's some new taxis, new vehicles that came out of the floor, which we converted for Nissan. We're Nissan approved. We're also Isuzu approved. Some vehicles that we started on doing training in Tanzania that we are converting and also handing over to individuals so they can take care of the systems that we fit. Some buses, some trucks. So we can move on. Buses, the city of Johannesburg was converted to run on dual fuel. We're still busy with Coca-Cola. Mozambique has got one vehicle that they're demoing, dual fuel. Here's some road cleaners. We definitely don't have this in South Africa, but in Europe they converted a few of these road cleaners. So I want to just have a quick discussion regarding regulation and being important to understand that everything that is used in a sense of where pressure is high, where equipment is in such a demand of or at risk that it could fail under its normal working conditions. when you start looking at that, then you start looking at what is your safety part of it. And you need documentation. You need a standard in order to follow, in order to understand what is the limitation of the product and what is the the manufacturing standards that they've used to manufacture. You definitely don't want cylinders blowing up and hurting people. So when it comes to cylinders, it's very important to make sure that you look at your regulation and follow it. Even when it comes to installing of a aftermarket kit, it's important to understand what bracket to tie down in order to keep it in place in case of a vehicle accident. Your piping that you install, is the piping rated the right pressure rating for the regulator? The whole kit needs to be certified and comply to a standard, which makes it very safe. Thank you. Let me just see if there's any other information.
No, thank you.
Go to the next slide.
Yeah, thank you, Quentin.
Thank you.
Thanks, Quentin. I'll take over from here now. So the reason why we felt we needed to show in-depth information about South African market is because South Africa is the leading market when it comes to CNG in Africa. And Quentin is the leading voice there in South Africa. It's our international technical partner. So I hope from the things you said, I know you've got questions, but we'll take questions after the other presentation. So without wasting too much time, I felt it was important for us to show you some of the current global market trends when it comes to CNG industry. I know of recent, there've been some information, I'll say misinformation, because as we know, it's bad news that sell. Or the use of CNG and vehicles growing up and all that. And I think Quentin has done a little bit of justice to that by telling us the importance of regulation. And this is why you can't afford to use any company to, to help you when you want to adopt CNG in any mode or form. So let's see what is going on in the global market, and let's address some of the mindsets that CNG is not safe. So we go to the US market now. There's increase in the growth of CNG in the US market, and that is because the demand is increasing for CNG vehicles. And of course, that's because there's lower production cost. Now, this sector in the US market is heavily private sector driven. I put down there Trump presidency. There's a question mark because when it comes to CNG, it's about it has a direct impact on the climate. But with Trump presidency, we just watch and see how that plays out in the US market with some of the changes withdrawing from the Paris climate agreement and all that. And when it comes to Europe market, is increasing rapidly. The two countries where you have a high growth in CNG adoption is Italy and Germany. The EU policy, which Clinton has talked about some of it, continue to push for more CNG adoption and construction of the infrastructure to meet climate change targets. Some of us will know that the EU is heavily involved in making sure that we keep our environment clean and meeting the global climate targets, Paris Agreement. Again, the industry here is private sector, heavily private sector driven. Next slide, please. The next market, South Africa market. I don't need to talk too much about that. Quentin has done justice to that. I'll just mention that minibus industry focus has really helped the market in South Africa. Although there is a shortage of gas at the moment, and that's due to declining domestic production. But this is the good news about us in Nigeria. We have, I don't need to talk too much about it. We all know we have a high, production rate of gas. we don't even know what to do with the gas. We're not even making the most use of our gas. But for South Africa, they have an issue at the moment, heavily reliant on importation from Mozambique. Next slide, please. Next market. The next market I'll just mention is the Egypt market. Increased growth and rapid market expansion. The Egyptian government has really supported the growth by empowering cooperative banks to provide incentives for entrepreneurs and gas companies that want to increase their portfolio and adopt CNG. So there's increased domestic gas production, and of course the infrastructures. There's growth in India as well. India markets now. Increased growth again in India market in vehicles adoption. There's expansion of CNG networks. There's promotion of CNG as alternative, which is what we're doing at the moment. As proud members of this great association, we're working with this association to create awareness on CNG and to help those of you on this call that you have your LPG business. Create more awareness for you to increase your portfolio by having CNG. Government support also has been great in India, but I must just say that when it all started in India, it was heavily government regulated and command, but that resulted into some issues, riots and all that, and now became more private driven. Okay, I think this, for the sake of time, I think these are the markets I want to talk about. Now I'm going to hand over to our in-country technical manager, Mr. Timothy Agbidi, and he will just quickly talk about more about the applications when it comes to the Nigerian market, and then I'll take it from there. Mr. Timothy?
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir, for giving me the opportunity. I want to appreciate everyone that is on board. Thank you for joining us. So quickly in Nigeria here, there is vast opportunity in the CNG market, but it seems the movement is very, very slow in the vast opportunity we have. As regards to power, next slide please on power. For power, there is a lot of opportunity in the power. We can see that there is serious epileptic power supply in the country, and this is the opportunity we have to start building power plants everywhere. Just like we used to have our diesel stored in our diesel generators or petrol stored in our petrol tanks, the same way the opportunity now we have with CNG. You don't need to wait for gas to be piped to your industry or to your power plants any longer. All you just need to do is to get the gas from anywhere, and then straight it goes into your plant. And very soon we'll start seeing a lot of vehicles now that are using CNG, because the big players in the country now understand the opportunity there, and that is why we are bringing this to everybody. They are all converting their trucks to CNG presently. So it will be good that we tap into it very quickly now. Now, when we talk about the cost, we are looking at the cost in our company. We found out that the cost for using CNG for gas, it's so cheap. It's as cheap as generating 1 kilowatt for just I think 79 naira per kilowatt. Comparing with diesel that we generate 1 kilowatt with 494 naira for 1 kilowatt, as against using CNG. So it is really, really very cheap. And I think the reason why a lot of people are not going into that yet is because of the understanding about the CNG, how to get the CNG, how to connect it to your equipment, like our first presenter just said, that now we can even reduce the use of diesel in our equipment by making it a dual equipment, and then the gas will be more of 79 to 80% running on your equipment, which is going to be a cost-saving expenditure in your company. Also, when we are talking about, like, one of the things that we are seeing in the country is scarcity. it is very abundant in the country. It is not something that we are thinking is going to be scarce in the country. So there is abundance of gas usage, gas resource in Nigeria. It is cleaner. For those using diesel, you understand that you know what you pass through using diesel when you change your nozzle, you change your filters, because it is clogged. I know in one of our plants, anytime we decide to switch to diesel, maybe for one maintenance or the other, every night or every 24 hours, we have to go clean filters because it gets clogged. You understand? And this clog is not just only affecting the filter, it affects the nozzles. These are expensive equipment that you have to wait for. If you are running a turbine or a gas engine that is dual fuel, these are equipment that you have to wait for OEM to send to you if you are using diesel. So using gas will prolong the lifespan of your equipment. As a matter of fact, in one of our plants recently, we used the burners for 10 years before we now started changing them. So you cannot try that with diesel. So it keeps the life of the equipment longer. It improves efficiency. You understand? If you are using converting heat to energy, and you know that is going to increase more of your efficiency. Now I'm going to be mixing this with industrial use. Now for those people that use burners in their industry, you know one problem you face with your burner, especially when you are using diesel or using some fossil fuel, you notice your plugs or the burner itself, you see it gets black with soot. You understand? When you use compressed natural gas, it is cleaner. It makes the area environment cleaner. It makes your heating more effective. So using CNG, it is easier and it is better. It is cheaper. So reduce cost of maintenance, and then it supports transition into renewable energy, and then economic growth as well in job creation. Bringing this in, you are opening doors for job creation in the country as well, because when you are having a power plant, you also have a mother station, you have a daughter station in your plant. You understand? So this will help to grow the work, and then also reduce maintenance costs of your equipment. So it is important that we understand all of this. Because of time, I will have to go through all of this. Then read it as well. Also, okay, let's go to the industrial as well. The same thing. It helps to reduce our costs as well. It is a lower fund costs of maintenance. You understand? And it reduces downtime when you are using CNG as well. Another thing I want us to understand is, how do we get this CNG to our equipment? There are skids that can take them from mother stations to your facilities. It is very easy, it is very safe. If you are seeing some of the problems that people keep complaining about in Nigeria, like my chairman first of all said that bad news moves faster than good news. If you compare the explosion of PMS and diesel in the country and see casualty, comparing it with the recent one that happened in Edo State or in River State, you see there were little or no casualty. I think the one that happened in Ogun State was just only one person that was stopped, you understand? And that was carrying almost 6,000 scum of gas. That is the gas that can run a 2 megawatt power plant for almost 24 hours. So it is very important that we understand that there is safety, like the first speaker said. He said it is lighter than air. It is lighter than other gases. So anytime there is an explosion, it goes into air, which does not make it very flammable. Let's go to the next slide, because this is almost the same thing with what we talked about in the power system. Now, the supply chain. The supply chain of natural gas, it's very easy. After you get it from where it is, you know it is something that is tapped from underground, you understand? It's a natural gas that is being processed. And why it is cheaper is because the processing is not as when you are doing your fossil fuel, like your PMS and your AGU and all of that. It goes through scrubber, it cleans it because it's natural, and it goes to the pipeline where it is being transported. Then from that, the processing and conditioning through the treatment plants that it goes through, because the natural gas is odorless on its own. They have to odorize it so that you'll be able to detect when it is in your environment, and also some of your safety equipment can be able to detect anytime there is any leakage in the environment. Then when we talk about the storage, you can store this gas to up to 200 to 250 bar, and then you can carry it around. And storing it up to 200 and 250 bar, like in your skid, you can have it as much as 6,000 scum and even up to 8,000 scum. This is something that can run your plant for almost 2 days, depending on the power you are generating in your plant. And as I told you, it is 70% very cheap, you understand, than the fossil fuel. So storage is the equipment we use in storing CNG is different from what we use in storing our cooking gas at home. That was one of the mistakes the person in Edo State did. He fabricated the equipment after all the investigation had been made, and then decided to put gas. It wasn't, I don't think it wasn't up to even 12 bar when that thing exploded. You understand? So there are very good, there are specialized containers that can be used to store your CNG, and it can be used to move them around. If you're in the West, you see them going around everywhere. So it is very, very easy to move around and then use in your area. Let's go to step in entering CNG business. Like somebody was asking some time ago, what will happen with A in starting this business might not be the same with what will happen in B, because there are unique trends in different places. But the major thing you need to understand when starting this business is, first of all, conduct your market research. You understand the demand in your area. Who are the competitors you are going to be? Take an analysis and identify the opportunities that are in your area. Then define your business model. What do you want to enter? Do you want to enter into CNG refueling station? Do you want to enter into vehicle conversion services? Do you want to enter into industrial supply? Or do you want to enter into virtual pipelines? All of this, you have to find them out before you go into business. Then to create a business plan. It is very important you create a business plan and also secure funding. And then there are other things like obtaining regulatory approvals. It's very important you obtain regulatory approval. I think we'll not be able to exhaust all of these things, but with this short point, I think it's very interesting to and very profitable to go into CNG business. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Timothy. So we move on now. Thank you for talking about the steps. So the reason why we've added this couple of slides is just to, again, to show us, because I know most of us, we are co-owners of businesses in the LPG gas sector. And the whole point of doing this is to bring the awareness that we should increase our portfolio and adopt CNG as part of our product mix. Now, if you want to go into CNG business as well, this is a good, fantastic opportunity. Like I said before, we are part of this association, so we are here to support these members of this association. And if you want to increase your portfolio, we partner with MotoGgolf. So we now have MotoGolf C-Gas mobile refueling unit. And I'll tell you more about it in the next couple of slides. We'll make it quick, Joshua. Okay, so there are 4 products when it comes to the MRU unit. Now, if you're going into conversion, if you're going into the conversion business, and say you want to have your own conversion center, now, one of the challenges you may have is that when you start converting your vehicles, you may run short of gas. And so for a small LPG business owner, you have a conversion center and you don't have the power to have your skid. You don't have financial muscles to have your mobile CNG skid coming to your conversion center to give you CNG. So there may be that need for you to then have storage CNG a gas system, whereby as soon as you finish your conversion, you can then have gas, CNG gas to power those vehicles. So if you have MJ Compact 05, which means anything between 1 to 5 vehicles a day, that can help you, it can work. The next one we have is MJ variant, which can take between 20, anything between 5 to 20 vehicles a day. And then the third one is MJ Compact Plus, can take up to 70 vehicles a day. Now, the good news with these ones is that these are game changers, which means that you don't need too much financial resources to even start. And then, because it's plug and play, you don't need your PRMS, which is the pressure reducing metering system. You want to adopt it as part of your business portfolio. We can sit down with you, design it out for you, and help you. Now, also the good news is this: we can also help you with credit application because everything can be import finance. But however, the caveat is you need to have a local bank guarantee. Once you have that, we can help you with the credit application and help you with the design and installation and help you to build that portfolio where you now have CNG adopted as part of your product mix in your LPG business. For the sake of time, I just felt we needed to say this because the whole point of having this webinar is to build that awareness and say, hey, these are opportunities that you can have in increasing your product portfolio. The next, I think I'll leave this section to the chairman of technical committee of CNG, but Richard, we go to the previous slide. Go to the next slide. Okay, so, like I said, we're working in collaboration with the association. Upcoming workshops we'll be having on NVG, natural vehicles, fundamentals, maintenance, refueling, safety, best practices, health and safety, and so many more. But again, I'll leave all those with the chairman of the technical committee. In terms of contacts, let's go to the next slide. We have our contact details in there. But also, again, we are part of this association, and we are here to work with everyone. And let's drive the adoption of CNG. Let's increase our product portfolio. It will interest you also to know that as a company, we actually started in Nigeria as LPG. We started as LPG business, hence why we joined the association. And then over time, we increase our portfolio mix and to CNG. Now we have CNG. And part of our strategic plan is to move on to LNG and other gases. And I'm so happy the association has decided to rebrand and increase our mix to more than just LPG, but we also have other gases. So I think I'll stop here, and then we hand over back to the chairman technical committee, and then we can take some questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Tim Paladi. Well, we have two Tims. We have Tim and we have Timothy. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Timothy. And thank you, Clinton, for the information that we got so far. In my own understanding, yes, I've highlighted 3 or 4, did I call them silos or verticals that people can pursue as business sort of interest once they get a little bit more understanding of a top view of CNG. The verticals that I understood from the conversation included CNG as an engine fuel, right? So either as an engine fuel in vehicles or an engine fuel for stationary engines, stationary applications. I understand that there could be a progression within this particular vertical where we can move from either dual fueling all the way through dedicated engines. And there are different sort of technologies to adopt for either one of these, but these are the possibilities for us as a people or as a businesses. Another vertical that has been identified is conversions, right? So there could be opportunities in conversions, both for stationary engines, generators in this instance, or for vehicles. And it's noteworthy to mention again, along the lines of what Tim said and what Clinton mentioned about safety in terms of types of equipment used, fit for purpose equipment used. And I think these are things that we could discuss in further education seminars, how people identify key manufacturers, how people educate themselves on what sort of markers to look for to make sure that they're actually using fit for purpose equipment. Finally, the final vertical that Tim mentioned in closing was about the fueling technologies. After you then converted the vehicle, what opportunities are there in fueling the vehicles? Are you doing public fueling stations, which we haven't seen a lot of yet sufficiently in the country, which obviously present an opportunity? And then you have for these private fueling opportunities for dedicated fleets as well. So my understanding so far, I'm going to, should I ask my question selfishly now, or perhaps I'll let the audience ask one or two questions, so that other people get a chance to partake in this. So do we have questions lined up?
Yes. There's some questions that have been sent via chat. Subsequently, we will then pick up others from the audience who have not sent in theirs. They can just signify by raising up their hands, and we'll call them. But the first question here says, it's from Adiola, says, having highlighted all the profitable and safety advantages of CNG over LPG and other fossil fuels, are we saying that there is no disadvantage or risk factors that CNG has with respect to other sister fuels? If there are, kindly highlight so that there will be a balance and consumers can take caution and be safety conscious. That's one of them. So, Mr. Tim, should I go on reading them, or you'll take them one after the other?
I think you can just read out the questions, and then we can just pick them.
Okay, so the next one, so that first question says, balancing your presentation and allowing people to know if there are any disadvantages or risk factors. The next one says, what process and source of funding is available to prospective investors and businesses? The third question, that's from Hakim Folami. The third one from Ebuka Okenwa says, what are the costs of these unique models? That's from Ebuka Okenwa. From Michael Adedeji says, what is the average amount needed to start the business? And Ibrahim Ahmad says, what is the cost of installing the CNG tank of the various types? Engineer Fatuyi says, is the usage of CNG strictly to motor vehicles or could be diversified to generators for electricity? Then Oluwatosi says, can Connect Gas build a CNG refueling station end to end and support in regulatory approvals? Then Michael says, okay, so that's fine. So those are some of the questions. So Mr. Tim, so that we don't miss out, would you address those before the subsequent ones?
Yes, I think we should. Our Quentin will take the answered question on disadvantages, and then I'll take some of those questions on the cost. And so, Quentin, if you can take that, please.
Yes. As any other fossil fuel has an advantage and disadvantage, surely CNG has also got a disadvantage. When we start talking about installations in vehicles, we are fitting a steel cylinder in the rear of the vehicle, which is quite heavy, and it stays the weight stays in the vehicle at the back, and although the cylinder is very safe, you can shoot at it and it can't penetrate the actual cylinder. You are taking up a lot of space. Where LPG, you can have a cylinder that's a lot lighter and also in a different shape where you can use it into a spare wheel and so on. So that's a bit of a disadvantage on the CNG side. The mere fact that it's compressed at 200 bar pressure, in itself, the pressure is very dangerous if not managed properly. Yet, going back to standards and making sure that the cylinder is of such that it can handle with the type of pressure. But yeah, in general, that is the only disadvantage what I can see in a CNG application, especially when it comes to converting vehicles. But second one, with also got to do with the capacity or the size of the cylinder, is that you have to fit a number of cylinders in order to get the volume of gas into the cylinder. To get volume to make up that you don't go back to the filling station refueling the whole time, you might want to add 2 or 3 cylinders. And then when you start doing that, you're contributing to the actual weight in the vehicle or on the truck, and that all has a bit of a negative impact on installing a CNG system. I think that's all I can say about that. I don't know, Tim.
Okay, thank you, Quentin. I'll just quickly address the question on cost and how you come into the market. I'll use our business case as an example. So it's going to be case by case. It's going to be like what Mr. Timothy also said. You need to define your market. It's a big and wide market, so you need to define where you want to tent in the market. For us, for example, we started with LPG, and also I must say that one of the things that I'll say is an hindrance, kind of, is the attitude of entrepreneurs in Nigeria to have it all. Most people want to have it all. A typical gas or business owner wants to be everything. You see, when it comes to oil and gas industry, you need to use the power of partnership. You need to leverage. You need to identify your market and ask yourself, do I have the initial cost to do this? If I don't, then can I partner? Can I team up with other companies that have the resource? And then that way, you can scale up your knowledge. You can know more about the business and then see where you fit in. So in terms of how do you start, again, that is to yourself. You need to define your market. How much would it cost you to start? You need to think about what you have at the moment and how you can leverage on other people who have in the market. So for us, for example, we had to go into partnership. We partner with Mr. Clinton. We partner with MotoGigoff. We partner with Greenfoil. We partner with other established CNG companies in Nigeria. We ask ourselves what amount of resource we have, and then some we had to partner, and others we had the financial muscle to do it. So we imported CNG skids all the way from China, because the ones they use here in Europe, it's not adaptable to the Nigerian market. So we started importing CNG skids from China, and then we partner with other CNG companies to do distribution. So you need to change your mindset as a business owner. You can't do it all. So, for example, I've talked about some of the opportunities, with what we have with MotoGgolf. You can partner with us. You know, you don't need to own it. You can partner with us, and we can give you more information as well. So in terms of how much does those MRU units cost, again, it's going to be based on your design, on exactly what you want to do. So it's going to be case by case basis. Do you have a conversion center? Do you want to start with NJ05, or do you want to scale up, or do you want a SAT? For a SAT station, you can do almost do anything at all. You can do trucks, you can do buses, you can do so. It has to be case by case. I can't tell you one straightforward answer here. You need to, you know, get in touch with us, come to our office, and we discuss, and it will be case by case basis. But the take-home point here is we should change our mindset as business owners. In this industry, you can't have it all. Let's partner together. Let's work together, and that's the beauty of why we are here today. The ES reached out to us, and now we're partnering with the association. So let's partner together. Let's work together. So the next question, I'll give it to Mr. Timothy to answer.
Okay, I think there was a question that had to do that is it only motor vehicles that can only use CNG? Like we said in the training, and our first speaker said that they also use CNG for power generation. You can as well use it for power generation to generate electricity. And recently, somebody brought some regulators that you can use. These are manual regulators, not automatic. Manual regulator where you can reduce your CNG pressure from 250 bar down to 3 bar. You understand? So now, with 3 bar, you can use it for cooking. You understand? So you can use it in your house to cook, and use it for your boilers in your industries as well. So CNG is versatile, just like you can use your cooking gas and propane. And presently, people are using even propane for their generators at home. So you can use CNG too. Then also somebody asks about regulatory body. There are regulatory body on this. The Nigeria Automotive Design and Development Council is one of the regulatory body. There is CAC, there is DPR, there is NMD, PRA, and all of them. So there are, most importantly, you need to learn some of these things before you go into market. Get certification, you understand, which we can assist you with anytime you want on how to do conversion and all of that. Thank you.
Victor, somebody had his hand up for a while.
There was okay, I think the hand is still up. Victor Itota, please go ahead.
Hey, all right. Thank you very much. It's been an enlightening session. I have a couple of questions. And once again, thank you for the opportunity. Concerning the dual fuel kit technology, what customer segments can you identify in terms of usage and the return on investments, the cost savings relative to the generator size and the run hours? And then lastly, how would you describe the CNG value chain? I mean, how would you describe a typical CNG value chain for the purpose of enlightenment? And just to add, recently, of course, we're very much aware of the presidential initiative on CNG. What would you say is the major challenge in terms of CNG adoption in Nigeria? Thank you.
I think I'll just take the last question, and if Quentin is still on for time, I think we've got, if he's still on, he can answer some of that questions, and Mr. Timothy as well. So um, the last question you mentioned in terms of, sorry, what was the question again? What was the question? Your last question.
The main challenge with CNG adoption in Nigeria.
Yeah, I think, thank you. So, yeah, I think the main challenge, well, quite a few of them, but I think one of the main ones is the fear factor. A lot of people are scared. You know, typically when you hear, oh, put CNG, I put gas in my vehicle, for example. Then the next thing is, oh, I can't put gas in my vehicle because of explosion and because of the things, the recent, events that have happened. So a lot of people are scared from, for example, converting their vehicle. But from if you were part of the, if you joined this webinar at the start, I think Quentin has done justice to that. CNG is a much safer fuel, much safer gas. And also, if you make sure that we handle the safety, that's why one of the first, webinars and awareness campaign we did with the presidential committee was on health and safety. So if we can make sure that we keep every one of us here, we are all, I mean, we are members, most of us here were members of this association. So if we keep advocating for health and safety, I think it will go a long way to help us. So I think that is fear, the fear factor, and we addressing that in terms of the products we use, the cylinders we use. Again, going back to regulation, making sure what you use are high standard, to just avoid those, and again, training as well, which, the association will be doing more on that, training on how to use these things, it will really help. Now, I don't know if Quentin is still on, if you can answer the first question.
Yes, I can. Can I
Thank you.
just understand, you are talking about how do you, which type of market would you enter in the dual fuel, and would you look at to do dual fuel? Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, the customer segments and how do you go about, yeah.
So we target fleet customers mainly, and then we also do companies such as transport companies, which is doing more of a local distribution of the product, which allows them to then fill more frequently because they drive past the CNG stations quite often. The ideal part of it would be to have LNG where the truck can then travel a lot further, because LNG in its own form, if you compare it to CNG, is 6 times the volume of what you would be able to do in a CNG cylinder. So yeah, I hope I answered the question correctly.
That'll be fine.
Mm-hmm. Your second part of the question was? Okay.
On the dual fuel kit technology, what will be the estimated return on investment in terms of cost savings, looking at the generator size and the amount of run hours?
Yeah, so it's a very difficult question to answer, because some customers will return their money within 6 to 12 months, and other customers will take 2 to 3 years. It depends on the amount of time they use the generators. Even when we say trucks running, they need the gas and they need to use the product in order to see the benefit and to see the return on investment. So the more they use the generator for longer hours, the quicker they'll see the return in their saving, which will benefit. So I'm sorry, I can't give it to you. So in our case, we handle case by case. We look at the generator, we look at how many times they run it. Is it 24 hours, 12 hours? Do they run it 7 days a week, 365 days? Maybe they just run it for 1 hour in a day, 2 hours in a day, or 2 hours in a week. That will prolong, obviously, the tournament.
Thank you, Quentin. Yeah, thank you, Quentin. So I'll just, because of the sake of time, I'll hand over back to the Chairman Technical Committee and the ES. But before I do, just to mention one thing, I'm sure most of us know about the independent power supply opportunity and the issues of electricity in Nigeria. And with the new bill, most of the states now, that has been deregulated. So most of the states now have that opportunity to come up with their own bill. For example, Lagos State government recently came up with that bill for independent power generation. CNG, for example, Canaan Rand, Winners Chapel is a good case study. Ever since the construction of Canaan Rand, they've been, using, they hardly use the national grid. They've been using CNG to independently generate their own power. Now, you can even generate power up to 1 megawatt without any government license or permit. So for people having private estates, you can, go into that business. All you just need to do is you have a CNG gas generator installed, and then you partner. Again, I can't, overemphasize this aspect of partnership. You partner with any of these CNG companies, and you get your CNG skid, and they come over, deliver CNG to you, you power your CNG gas generator or turbine, and then you generate power. So there's so many opportunities out there where we can, use CNG and increase our portfolio. And I know the association will be doing more in this regard to continue to build this awareness. So thank you so much, everyone. I'll hand over back to the Chairman Technical Committee and the ES. Thank you so much.
So can I ask a question?
We'll get to you in a second, Jessian. One second. Okay, go ahead. Ask your question, and I'll ask mine before.
Okay, my name is Aloka from Self-Show Limited. I just wanted to ask, as a layman, what does someone source CNG for? For instance, if you have a power job, like for instance, to supply CNG to a power plant, where does somebody source the CNG from?
Okay, right. So
thank you. Hang on 1 second, Tim. Hang on 1 second. It was a very good question by Iloka, and let me just add to that, because he sort of read my mind a little bit. I believe, from the background most people have, there's no doubt that CNG can be used for all the applications we've talked about today. Power generation, vehicle engines, and things like that. I would like Tim, because of your background with the presidential initiative, to sort of help us walk through the supply chain of CNG, from production, yes, to compression stations, to last mile distribution. That supply chain, how robust is each element of that today in the country? Who are perhaps major players in each of those stops along that supply chain? And how easy is it for entrepreneurs, like members of our associations, to access the final fuel, as it were? Just in line with Iloka's question, but a little bit more a top view of it. I hope that's clear.
That's fine. So what I'll do is I'll allow Mr. Timothy Agbidi to take that question, to give us the answer to that question on where you can source for it, the supply chain, the major players out there. Mr. Timothy, can you quickly do that?
Okay, thank you very much. Just to combine the two questions together with the person that asked of the value chain of this business. Now, it starts from the upstream, where we get the gas from, where the gas production happens, and it is being processed. This is done by the NNPC, Shell, Chevron, Seplat. Like in these parts, in the western part of Nigeria, the gas comes in through the header. So from the header, those are the people that are transporting, but the header, the gas comes from the upstream down to this area. So those bringing it on the header, they are the transporters who are the midstream. That is where excavers comes in. They are the one that bring the gas. Then from that part now, from the header, which comes from the upstream down to other African countries, from there, companies like NIPCO, companies like Shell also who are playing in the midstream as well. Then companies, also other companies like Axela, they also tap from there and also take to their mother stations. Now, from that header now to the mother station, there they do the compression of the gas into bottles. Those are the skids we see that are moving around, and very soon, like some of you, if you have seen some of these, let me use and Dangote truck, for instance, in between the head of the Dangote and then the carriage, the buckets at the back where the carriage is meant, you see some cylinders in between there. All those kind of trucks are not using diesel, they are using CNG. So they get these CNGs from the daughter stations. So there is the mother station, there is the daughter station. The mother station gets from the pipeline, it compresses it into the CNG skid. And then from that mother station, where the skid lives, it goes to the daughter station, where they now use it to either generate power or for refilling of fuel and all of that. So that is how the flow is. It comes from the upstream where the gas is being tapped, then it is being transported by transporters through the pipeline, and then from the pipeline, some people, they pay for it, and then they connect headers. Those are the companies like NIPCO, they connect and then take green fuel, they connect to their compression stations. There they compress, and some people also take straight to their power plant and use it without compressing it to generate power over there. But if you cannot take the pipe to your plant, you can compress and then transport it to your plant and use it in your daughter station. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Timothy, for that explanation. So, but without making it so green paper, white paper, how would, if I had a generator in my house or my office, 200 kVA generator, for example, how do I access gas after I've done my conversion to fuel my generator? Give us a practical sort of possibility with that. I want to help people understand the very last mile of the process.
Okay, now if you have a 200 kVA, when your conversion is done, like our first speaker said, you get the bottles. There are independent bottles that also, if you're in this area, you see them carrying them. It can be lifted and dropped in your house. So what they do is you move them to the compression station, they fill them for you, and then they drop it in your house. So you own them. It's just like having a tank for your diesel. So that one is now going to be CNG bottles that will be standing there, and then you connect it to your system, and then it fires if it has been converted. So it's such an easy system to use. Okay. There is a picture here. Now, if you see on this area, you see some of these bottles here. Those are refilled bottles. You understand? You can have them either permanent or movable. It can either be permanent or movable. Like this is a permanent refill bottle. So you can either bring your skid in and refill it. So it now stands as a storage system in your facility. Or you can have it as a crate, and then you are able to move it to the doctor station, fill it, and then return it back. So any of the two can be done. But this is the example of something like this you can have in your plant.
All right, thank you, Tim. So if I understand you correctly, there are smaller cascades such as those that are movable for me to go to a compressor station like NIPCO's, refill and return to our facility. Otherwise, are there vehicles like my diesel peddler that could come and refill that container at my premises?
You are very correct. That's it. You understand it now.
Okay, very well. Finally, my own question, just to get a sense of, to give people a sense of savings. What is top line pricing of diesel versus CNG today on an apple to apple basis?
Okay. For CNG now, I think CNG in the market is going for like, I think, 250, 300 per scum in the market presently. And then I think diesel is going for 1,000 plus in the market. Now the 250, 300, that is for vehicles, not for, there is this, for power plant, it's cheaper because you are getting direct from the mother station. But because you are going to filling station to get for your vehicles, I think it's around 250, 300. But I can't get the exact price now because it varies from station to station.
Okay, and does one scum of CNG equate in energy terms to 1 liter of diesel, or what's an equivalence?
It's almost the same, almost the same. I think the difference is in decimals.
Okay, thank you. All right, we have 2 more questions from people who have their raised hand. We'll take those, and I think the ES can help us wrap up the day.
Jesu Yon, your hand has been up. Can you ask? And then thereafter, Yunusa.
Good morning, afternoon, everyone. Thanks for this opportunity. I think this webinar today is an eye-opener for somebody like me. Thank you. My own question is relating to using CNG for cooking, as was mentioned. In the recent time, I believe the usage that we have in Nigeria now is, I believe, is butane or propane. Now, how is this cooking part of it established? From what I can gather here, meaning there is a conversion thing that needs to compress it before it can be used for cooking. I just want a bit more expansion on that. And is that in use presently? Thank you for household.
Okay, for cooking, our company is trying to work on something that it can be used individually instead of having a stationary skid and then be sending it into an estate for cooking. So what we are trying to do, we are trying to get bottles and then regulators that can reduce. We've gotten a regulator, but we are still working on it, and then we'll need to get certification, and the regulatory body needs to come in to certify it. It has worked, but we cannot push it into the market yet. So we want to be sure that what we are bringing out is safe for everybody after the regulatory body has approved it. But it's for, if it is for combined, CNG is used for cooking, like in other countries, they use it for cooking very well. You can use natural gas for cooking in your house and everything. So, but mostly it's piped gas into houses and then it is metered for people to use. So CNG can be used to cook. So, but people are more tied to the propane we use presently now. But as soon as we're able to do what the research we are doing, we'll come up with something. Thank you.
Sir, you could go ahead, please.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes,
Go
I
ahead.
have been an avid follower on this CNG development, and I'm highly interested. But I saw some people are selling LPG in North, but I can't see anywhere like in Northeast. I based in Bauchi. I can't see anywhere from Jos to Bauchi to Gombe where CNG has started being put to use. And I'm interested. So I don't know how, is CGAS office in Abuja or is it in Lagos?
Okay, CGAS office is in Lagos.
Oh, okay, I had the opportunity of just coming into Lagos now, and I will be leaving on Saturday. I don't know if I can visit the office.
Okay, at the end of this program, we will share contact details of that. Let's move on to Oluyori Adeoye. You're muted. Chinedu Ejimadu.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good afternoon.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. I have asked the question on the chat room, but it seems nobody has responded to that. I needed to ask the CGAS guys that said some slides in the course of the presentation. They talked about having many skids for the CNG, but I didn't see a compressor for what they sent. I only saw the cascade and the dispensers. I didn't see the compressor. So I'm asking them a very simple question. If peradventure, because one of the key challenges with CNG is the constant pressure drop when it is stored over time. So how do they handle that to ensure that pressure is maintained?
Right. Okay, now if I understand your question very well, you said when the skid is packed for some time, there has to be pressure drop.
In most cases, yeah. And you have a target pressure, maybe 200 to 230 bars. And in the casket, you have different pressure banks as well. So when you begin to have these pressure drops and the vehicles come for filling, and that pressure is related directly proportional to the volume. So I'm asking, when you don't have a compressor, because what do you share? The skid you shared here, I didn't see any compressor, unless there's a compressor somewhere. Like I said, so when you don't have a compressor, so how do you do about the pressure drop?
Now, I told you that there is a mother station and there is a daughter station. Now, the mother station compresses into the skid. Now, it is the mother station that needs the compressor for you to use and to compress the gas from the pipeline into the skid. Now, when the CNG, the casket gets to the where it is going to be used, you don't need a compressor there. You need a reducing facility, which we call pressure reduction and monitor and measure and metering skid. So what that does, it helps you reduce the pressure from 250 bar, which certainly you can't use in most equipment here, to the pressure you want to use over there. So at most of this time, if you have a storage facility, you will hardly see pressure drop. So most people, instead of this, most of these people don't like tying down their skids in mother station because the skids always is in use. So the best thing is to decant the skid in your facility so you can release the skid. But if you park the skid for a long time, apart from pressure drop, it affects the suspension of the system. So people don't like parking the skid for a long time. So most of the time we advise when skid comes to your facility, try decant them as fast as possible. And where skid is being used, where your CNG is being used, you don't need a compressor there. You need a facility that will reduce the pressure to what you want to use. You need a compressor more in a mother station where they are compressing into the skid. I hope you understand the explanation.
I still struggle to key into what you are saying here because listen, if you take it to a daughter station, the mother station takes from the pipeline, compress into casket that takes it to where you need it. Now, as you, for instance, you have maybe 150 cubic meter or thereabout, you're able to sell 50. Definitely, there will be gap in your casket, and the pressure will drop. If you are filling vehicles, most vehicles come in Nigeria will tell you they need a pressure. From your dispensers, you'll be seeing 200 bars, and they need like 200 bars. So once you start dropping to 140, 150, and they start having challenges, most customers will run away. I'm asking, we are saying if you take it to the end point, I'm not talking of domestic use or minor use or generators. I'm talking of vehicles where you need it and the drivers knows what they want. If you take it to that place and your pressure begin to drop to 140, 160, and they are complaining they need 200 bars, or you begin to drop to 120, you don't have compressor, what do you do? What you explain to me, I mean, if you do that, I don't think anybody will patronize you on the CNG. So I want to know what you do to it, to that. That's not...
Thank you very much for your question, Chinedu. And as you know, today's class is just a first introductory into this. I think we're going to delve down into very specific aspects of this. In this case, you're talking about refueling systems where subject matter experts or vendors who want to actually tout specific refueling equipment will speak to directly, more directly to your question. But I appreciate the question and I do understand that. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, no problem. You're welcome.
Yeah, also, thank you, Mr. Chinedu. Just the very last one, Oluyori Adeoye, so we can wrap up because it's a series, and I would make just a very brief remark at the end.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, I think connectivity issues. So like the chairman SMT said, who's also vice president NLCGA, this is an ongoing series. We will have another series in February. It's an ongoing series. The main crux of the whole idea starting in January is to allow people to know that we didn't just change name from Nigeria LP gas into Nigeria Liquid and Compressed Gases Association just for name change purpose also only. The faculty is being expanded, and this is just an introductory session, particularly targeted at CNG, which needs a lot more breakdown. Interesting questions have been asked. A number of them have not been answered completely. So what we call on is, please, let's compile against the next series. compile these questions. You can send it already in the chat box. We put there 2 emails that you can use to get across to us: secretariat@nlcga.com, info@nlcga.com. Those will entertain compilation of the questions ahead of the next in the series. Remember, this is just CNG alone. We're going to go into other areas, not forgetting LPG, which is one aspect of gas also that we've been heavily involved in. You can also call the Secretariat for more information. Like we said, it's a series. Please feel free to send in these questions. We'll compile them, including the ones you've sent in the chat box, and we'll be able to further tailor the next presentation in the series to this. With that being said, I don't know, maybe Chairman S&T has any last statements?
No, thank you, Larry. I think you summarized it, but just to reiterate, I think some definite pathways have been sort of established in this broad overview today. We've talked again about engine fuels. We've talked about the aspect of conversions themselves. We've touched on the refueling systems and some other compression issues or further upstream, mother stations, daughter stations. I think each of these are subjects that by themselves will be tackled so that people have even more in-depth knowledge about each aspect of these, and they can then position themselves or their businesses to take advantage of any particular pathway that they identify as being competitive for them. So we look forward to a few more of these so that we can look further in depth. And I think otherwise, we thank everybody who's shown the interest, and it is quite obvious that there is interest, and the association will do more to satisfy this interest by building further resources to address issues. Thank you very much, Ian.
Thank you. And for those who may have missed the early parts of this webinar, in the days ahead, you will have an opportunity to go to the website. It will be on our website, both in the written form and the recorded form will be on the
Hello,
website
please.
for all of us to be able to refresh our memory if we missed out at some point in time. So having said that, would like to thank all of us for making out time on behalf of the Governing Council, the Executive Committee of the NLCGA. Would like to thank all of you for this. It's a continuing series. Please ask questions via emails, and also on the website.
Hello.
This particular webinar will be up there running. Thank you all.